For roughly 200,000 years, every single human on Earth walked around completely 100% naked. Think about that for a second. Every hunter-gatherer strategic meeting, every high-stakes mammoth hunt, every casual stroll through the dangerous prehistoric jungle. Totally, completely bare. No underwear, no socks, no pockets to put your keys in. But then, one day, someone decided to invent the very first pair of clothes. And it wasn't because they were freezing, and it wasn't because they suddenly felt embarrassed about their bodies. It was actually because of a terrifying, gross evolutionary war against a microscopic monster. To understand how we got trapped in modern jeans, ties, and expensive sneakers, we have to travel back in time and meet our direct ancestor. Meet Og. Og lives 80 years ago in a lush, tropical paradise. It's incredibly hot, humid, and sticky, so Og has absolutely no practical reason to wear pants. In fact, fur skin is actually Homo sapiens' greatest evolutionary superpower. Millions of years ago, we traded away our thick primate body hair so we could sweat efficiently. This allowed early humans to run for miles under the blazing sun without overheating, literally chasing down furry animals until they collapsed from heat exhaustion. For a long time, being naked was our ultimate advantage. But Og has a massive problem. The tropical jungle is not a friendly place. It is completely filled with sharp thorns, poisonous vines, aggressive biting ants, and blood-sucking parasites. Every time Og sits down on a rock or walks through a thick patch of bushes, he risks getting cut, infected, or stung. And after getting bitten in a few highly sensitive places that we legally cannot show or describe on YouTube, Og decides he has finally had enough. He looks at a dead animal's skin left over from dinner, picks it up, and wraps it around his waist. He doesn't look stylish. He looks ridiculous. And it smells terrible because he hasn't invented laundry detergent yet. But he is finally safe from the bushes and the bugs. Og is thrilled. What Og doesn't realize, however, is that by putting on this crude leather loincloth, he has accidentally created a brand new ecosystem on his own body. Enter the body louse. This is where the story gets incredibly weird. For millions of years, lice could only survive on humans if they stayed safely tucked inside our head hair. If a louse fell off the head onto our hairless bodies, it couldn't grip onto anything, it got exposed to the elements, and it died almost instantly. The human body was basically a barren desert for bugs. But when humans like Ogo started wrapping themselves in animal skins and primitive fabrics, these bugs saw a massive real estate opportunity. They didn't just crawl onto the clothes, they literally mutated and evolved into a brand new, entirely separate species called the body louse. Unlike head lice, these new bugs couldn't grip onto human hair anymore. Instead, they evolved specialized claws designed specifically to hold onto clothing fibers. They lived in the folds of the fabric and only crawled onto the skin when they wanted a snack. Now, this sounds like a gross fun fact, but it is actually one of the greatest historical breakthroughs in modern archaeology. You see, clothing fabrics made of fur, grass, or leather rot away and turn to dust over thousands of years. Because of this, archaeologists can almost never find actual ancient shirts or pants in the dirt. For decades, nobody knew when we started wearing clothes. But a team of brilliant scientists realized they could solve the mystery by looking at the bugs. By tracking the exact DNA timeline of when body lice split away from head lice and became their own species, scientists mapped out the exact moment the bugs got their new clothing home. The data revealed that humans started regressing up roughly 170,000 years ago. That is long before we ever left Africa, and long before we ever encountered a single snowflake. Clothes were originally just an anti-bug shield. But the real test for human clothing came when our ancestors decided to pack up and move north, entering the freezing environments of Europe and Siberia. Suddenly, biting ants weren't the main problem anymore. The problem was that the air was so cold your fingers and toes would literally freeze snap off if you stayed outside too long. This was a massive evolutionary crisis. Other human species, like the Neanderthals, had been living in Europe for hundreds of thousands of years. They had thick, stocky bodies, short limbs, and robust chests specifically evolved to trap body heat in the cold. Homo sapiens, on the other hand, were thin, lanky tropical primates. If you put a naked Homo sapiens in an ice age winter, they would survive for about 20 minutes. Without technology, our species was completely doomed to extinction. So we invented the single most important tool in human history. It wasn't the wheel, and it wasn't a giant sword. It was the bone needle. By taking small pieces of animal bone, carving them down to a sharp point, and punching a tiny hole through the end, early humans unlocked the power of tailoring. Before the needle, humans just draped heavy, loose animal skins over their shoulders like blankets. But loose skins have a fatal flaw: the cold wind blows right through the gaps, stealing your body heat. With the bone needle, everything changed. Humans could now use animal sinew as thread to tightly sew multiple layers of different furs together. They could shape the material to fit the exact contours of their bodies. They created the world's first boots, tight trousers, and hoods. They realized that putting a layer of fur facing inward trapped a pocket of warm air right against the skin, while a layer of leather facing outward blocked the freezing wind and kept out the moisture. We essentially invented a prehistoric spacesuit. This advanced clan technology allowed thin, fragile tropical humans to not only survive in -40-degree Arctic weather, but to actually thrive. We could hunt in the middle of a blizzard, out-compete the heavy-set Neanderthals who didn't use advanced sewing, and eventually walk across a frozen land bridge all the way from Asia into America. Clothes allowed us to conquer the entire planet. But then, the Ice Age ended. The glaciers melted, the planet warmed back up, and humans didn't need thick, heavy fur spacesuits to survive anymore. So, did we all strip down and go back to being happily naked in the sun? Absolutely not. Why? Because during those thousands of years in the cold, clothes evolved into something completely different, our very first social status symbol. Humans realized that what you were told everyone exactly who you were before you even opened your mouth. If you walked into tribal meeting wearing a rare, flawless leopard skin that was perfectly stitched with intricate bone beads, it meant you were an elite hunter and a powerful leader. Everyone respected you. But if you walked in wearing a mangy, poorly cut piece of deer hide full of holes, it meant you were struggling to survive. Clothes stopped being a tool for biological survival and became a tool for power, tribal identification, and political propaganda. Wealthy rulers started demanding fabrics that were incredibly difficult to make, like rare purple dyes made from thousands of crushed seed snails or delicate silk imported from across the world. Eventually, this obsession with covering up turned into deep social shame. We spent so many generations wearing clothes that seeing someone without them became shocking, weird, and socially unacceptable. We invented rules, laws, and entire religious doctrines declaring that naked was inherently wrong. So, the next time you are running late in the morning, frantically looking for a matching pair of socks, and complaining about the fact that modern society forces you to wear pants just to walk into a grocery store, don't blame your boss or the government. Instead, look back in time and thank an ancient cabman named OG, who was just tired of getting bit by jungle bugs and freezing his toes off in the snow. If you want to help OGAV finally afford a real shirt so he can stop wearing smelly deer hides, smash that subscribe button, hit the like icon, and let me know in the comments what mystery we should break down next. See you in the next video.